So about 30 years ago, I was out, young guy, building a business. I was in the banking industry after school. I became a banker and was focused on mortgage lending. And so, like a lot of local salespeople, I went out and I started trying to figure out how to build a business, how to create a network, how to do all those kinds of things that individual salespeople try to do. And I spent years doing that and ended up being a top producer in the mortgage industry, then ended up managing a group of mortgage teams here in the greater Seattle area. And then from there, really where it went is I started my first company, which was called Bay Mortgage, which was a very successful business in the greater Seattle area. We had a number of offices. But one of the things that I found out when I took over the company and began building and growing it is I had a bunch of sales guys, and they were all doing really different things. And it frustrated me a little bit because I wanted them to focus on some of the things that I had learned over years that were the successful things, as opposed to the things that just didn't work. You know, I decided to start a training class for salespeople in the mortgage business on how do I go out and build a business? How do I network successfully? How do I get more referrals out of the people that I actually know? All the things that I'd learned over a number of years that I figured out myself, I wanted to teach to other people. That's how Legacy University was grown. And it started at that point. We put together a curriculum and started putting people through it. The gentleman sitting right next to me here, Drew Nickel, he'd done a loan with us, but he was kind of a long-haired hippie that played a guitar with a zoology major. Not really the guy that would fit into mortgage lending. He just kept persevering through and he kept calling. So finally one day I sat down and met with him and he asked me for a chance. Back then, almost 30 years ago, I put Drew through one of our earlier classes and said, if you're gonna come to work and you wanna do this stuff, you're gonna do it the right way. Drew was one of our first candidates that ever came through the class and ended up having a career in mortgage and sales for over 30 years and became a top producer and was super successful. Just one of the many people that we're proud of at Legacy U that we can talk about hundreds of salespeople that have come through that have done some great things. And it was a great experience. And Drew, you know, you might want to, you know, touch base on that story as how it's relevant to you and how it relates to, you know, where it is today.
As Scott described me, I wasn't exactly the right fit to get into the mortgage industry. But I would say one of the things that I noticed over the course of the first year that really stood out is the trainings that I was getting and sitting down with Scott one-on-one and in little group settings was different than anything else that I was learning out there in any kind of sales training or seminars that I went to. And at first, I thought to myself, this sounds so different. I don't really get it. I don't really think it how it's, I don't see how this is gonna work and fit into me building a business. But what I found is I went from being this guy that was kind of a long-haired former musician, zoology degree guy, that essentially started accelerating everybody else that was in the industry that had better groundwork to begin with because of the stuff I was actually learning through Scott and Legacy U.